Incoming transmission from the future, Vancouver AI Community Meetup.
Hello, everyone. Kris pulled me up here very last minute. I guess it's a bit of a tradition. Back in January, I was on stage to introduce Lionel, who is not only my best friend, but also my partner in life. My name is Orain. And very quickly, I work at a nonprofit of 43 years called Hollyhock Leadership Institute. We are actually running a AI gathering next June, bringing together researchers, policymakers, artists, business across the board. And really, it's to think about AI not just from its extractive nature, but really how are we creating, envisioning AI for our collective good. And so feel free to come chat with me more. It's up on beautiful Cortez Island. Kris can tell you how it changed his life. But today's not about me.
Not tonight, I can't.
Not tonight. He's busy. But tonight I'm introducing Lionel, aka Eucodia. You all get the pleasure of seeing a sliver of his life as a technologist, an artist, a nerd in the most endearing way in Wattsup, which is his project, which started off back in January, left for Montreal for residency, is going to go back to Montreal in a month to present at MUTEK, which I'll have him tell you more about, which has been a dream that he's manifested over the years. But beyond what you see here, I also want to give props to all the other sides that you don't see, which is the nerd that can go on and on. On 1 week in the house, we're talking about gold foil, and another week we're talking about cat habitats. Another week we're talking about the perfect cup of coffee. Like the list is endless, which is really to say the multifaceted individual that is Lionel that I get the pleasure to invite to stage for you to hear his most recent nerdery on AI energy usage.
Well, thank you very much, darling, for introducing me. Thank you, Kris, for having me again here. So my name is Lionel Ringenbach.
And please stand in the light in the middle of the stage in the front.
Yeah, so I cannot see anymore. I was like, it's hard, you know.
Think of your fans, Lionel.
All right. So my name is Lionel Ringenbach, and as you can hear, I speak fluently Fringlish. I am passionate about art and technology, and I would like to share with you tonight is a project that I started kind of here, or kind of start thinking about it, which is called Wattsup. And the goal of this project is, as it's written here, shining a light on AI energy use. Go to the next slide. So back in January, I came here and I shared with you a bit of my journey of trying to understand what is really the scale of energy use of AI. You can see the first episode of that on YouTube. You can scan that QR code if you'd like to look at this video, or search for that video on YouTube to refer to it. So what is going on? AI is now ubiquitous, and it's using energy-intensive hardware everywhere. We don't have a choice, really, to run it. And there is no reporting at all on what energy is being used, so there's no awareness, really. So Wattsup is really trying to dig into this and see if we can bring some numbers about this so that we don't have to fly blind completely about it. And why it matters is that AI is becoming absolutely in everything. We don't even see it anymore in many ways. For a while, it was on the surface, and now it's starting to dig deeper and deeper, and we may not even see it through very clever UX tricks. And energy demand is probably going parabolic at the moment, but how could we know if we don't know the number? If we're not gathering this information or having any transparency, how could we even know about it? And it's something that we have no doubt about, and that's a fact, is that energy usage and production has a direct correlation with climate change. So for me, it's like we have to see where AI is the best way we can use it. There's very great use of AI and maybe less efficient use of AI. AI for everything might not be the answer. And so Wattsup's goal is to try to integrate this energy counter so we don't have to fly blind. It's not to say it's bad, it's good, it's to say have an awareness at the very least. So last time I came here, I talked about a call for artists in MUTEK. MUTEK is one of the largest art and technology festival in Canada. It's happening in Montreal every year in August. There was a call for artists I shared here. I applied, which was about this AI Ecologies Lab, which is about exploring sustainable and ethical alternative for creative use of AI. And I got selected. So I got to go there and build a proof of concept. It was kind of a hackathon style. So we had like a couple of weeks where we get prepared for the design of our project and get to do a hackathon style project to build a proof of concept, at least for the first phase. So initially, I wanted to build a tool that allows you to measure like how many tokens are spent in ChatGPT when you're online, and based on this, being able to build an estimation of just, oh, well, it means that you've used maybe like 50 kilometers in a car, or what is the equivalent of the actually have an idea of what does that mean in terms of equivalences. But I realized that this was done already by someone, and this is what you can see here is the AI Impact Tracker, which is a Chrome extension that you can install today. So as you go on your ChatGPT, you can tell about how much energy is being used. So I gave up on that idea, and one of the mentors shared with me that paper, Green My LLM, which studies the kind of behavior of AI and developers with GitHub Copilot. The way they did it is kind of very hacky at the time, but what they found was very interesting is that most of the AI requests made in the code editor. And so for people who don't know, GitHub Copilot is a tool that exists in the code editor to help developers have to simply ask questions instead of coding. And what they found is that 55% of all AI requests are not even used. They just are sent and never listened to. And why this happens can be kind of surprising is that, you know, when you go on Google and you start typing and it tells you what you actually want, it's try to guess. These tools used to be used on regular programming, but now it's based on AI. So whenever you type on a keyboard, it sends a request, and you type again, it canceled, it forgot about the previous request and type again. So if you type at a certain rhythm, you could be actually using AI properly or actually wasting a lot of requests without even knowing it. So 55% of these requests was actually being wasted for kind of a UX perspective, meaning that in tools nowadays, we're starting to build UX, user experience, with AI to make it kind of seamless, and we don't even know that AI is being used in the background. And then I learned that Microsoft announced that GitHub Copilot was going open source. So I thought that's interesting. There was this paper on studying the energy usage in coding editors, and now Microsoft decided to make this tool actually open source. So maybe I can develop something that actually analyzes the energy usage inside Visual Studio Code, which is the tool that... so I built this extension where it's you make a request to your AI and it's working on it. No. And here I have built this dashboard that shows you, like, we see a request happening and how much energy was related to this request. Here we only see a view of the last hour, but the tool allows you to see on the last hour or how much energy was used on the last day or even in the last month. Basically giving you some sort of analytics to have a relationship to it, or you can understand what it actually meant. You can actually go to GitHub, because I have I forked the official extension and made it open source. So you can experiment yourself and see how much of your AI use, as a coder, as a developer, is in Visual Studio Code. I don't have a version for Cursor or for other tools, but I'm planning to actually cover also those. So if any of you are actually interested in porting this into other software, then please reach out and we can talk and see how we can make this happen, because the code would be very similar and easy to port. So here I brought back the metric that I invented last time, which is how many microwaves needs to run at the same time to think about how much energy is being used. So here we can see that developing this extension was about running a microwave for 20 hours non-stop. Here I'm sharing an article that about the recent news, because the reason that I'm doing this is that I have this strong intuition that there is some idea that big tech companies don't really want us to know this number, so that gets me curious and I want to know why. I'm not saying that the energy usage is very bad or very good. We don't really know because we don't have a number. But this makes me think like we really need to, when I see this, for example, a few days ago, this news kind of came under the radar, but Donald Trump decided that the rules that applies in terms of environment to build a new data center, if you are doing AI, none of those rules apply anymore. You can even build, a data center can build their own energy plants, and they don't have to get any environmental review on how is it gonna impact the local population, how is it gonna impact their water, how is it gonna impact the grid. Doesn't matter. No, if it's for AI, it can go through because we need to win the race. So question that comes through this for me is really around like, what about transparency? So it doesn't matter, probably doesn't use enough energy, it doesn't matter, it's not related to climate change, is it not having any impact, is the question. I wonder, but we don't know. They can provide numbers, but they pretend it's all fine. Also efficiency. What I saw earlier, for example, in how we use AI in tools and for user experience might always be the always most efficient. We saw in that coding AI tool, about 50% of the requests were not even being used at all. And how often do we make a request on AI to just ask, I don't know, how many cups of water I need to cook this quinoa or these lentils? Maybe not very best use of that energy. So that's what really drives Wattsup to keep going and to figure out, like, let's implement new counters, energy counters in different tools so we have at least an idea and we don't have to fly blind later and being like, oh, well, we don't know where we're going. So what's next for Wattsup is at the MUTEK forum in the 20th of August in Montreal. I will be exhibiting Wattsup, and one of the things I would like to do is to enable data collection in this code extension, so that it's not just locally for users to see, but also that we can aggregate it in a larger energy counter, just to actually see how fast this is growing or slow this is growing, just to have an idea of the general awareness. And that means we can also integrate Wattsup in different tools, typically Comfy UI, which is a tool that people use regularly for generating videos or images, or Olyama, which is a tool that people use to create a local chat box that chatbot that runs on their computer. And so please, you can subscribe to this newsletter that I'm creating here, where I'm going to provide updates and potential opportunities for people to participate to Wattsup and also integrate with the stack so we don't have to fly blind together. So thank you very much, Kris, for having me again here. And thank you very much for all the support I receive from this community that makes this possible and keeps driving me forward. I really appreciate you all for that. And if you have a project today that you're building with AI and you're wondering about the question that I was kind of moving around, and maybe you're curious about it, talk to me and we can maybe figure out something that works for you or something that maybe we can work and build together. All right. Thank you. Oh, questions, please, please. Can we take? We have time for take question, please. Yeah.
I guess the more obvious question, or can everybody hear me?
Not yet, just Segro.
Yeah, thanks for that. I guess a more obvious question for me with all this energy consumption you're talking about, how can you, first of all, demonstrate it in a visual way, whether you were talking about like, microwaves or TVs or light bulbs or whatever, maybe like in a contextual way for people to understand. Second of all, determine how do we become more energy efficient if that's the goal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, how do we display those numbers so that people can relate to it? And how do we improve over this, right? Yes, so this project is still at the research phase, so there's a lot of like surfacing numbers. And I'll be honest, there's things where I see, it's like 20 hours of microwave. What do I do with this? What do I do with this? It doesn't really help me right away. So now it's really about looking, how do we make it more relatable and actionable in particular? How do I know how efficient my workflow is? Typically in Visual Studio Code, I would like to have that efficiency number and statistics so that we actually know I made 100 requests, 30 of them were completely discarded, or 60 of them were completely discarded. So how do I improve over that metric? I think it's very important for companies today to follow on those metrics so they actually have something to work against. Because otherwise, we're always going to work against things like latency. Latency in the big tech companies, that's what's most important. It has to be fast, right? Where it could be a little slower, but fast is the most important part. And we don't really look at those performance metric, which is around efficiency of energy usage. Does the number of parameter count? A lot of studies so far shows that it's not necessarily, that for most usage, that number doesn't really matter and actually might just be an overkill.
So Lionel and I have been having this debate a little bit as he's been working on this project, because I think this is some of the most important work going on in our community right now. And I think that what you've built is the framework. During the pandemic, I lived in a boat access only solar powered A-frame. And it was during that period of time that I realized the difference in trade-offs between watching YouTube for a night and charging my laptop the next day, vis-a-vis the sun and my battery consumption. And I could actually start to make a decision about running the electric coffee maker in the morning is about the same as watching YouTube for the night. So if I'm willing to go through the extra effort of making like a drip and hand ground press in the morning, then I can watch YouTube and still charge my laptop or whatever. So, but until and it's because I had a number coming from my inverter that was telling me how much battery I had and how much other stuff coming in. And so it's like, until we have numbers, we can't even begin to rationalize, is this prompt or query worth asking? Or is there a better way to ask this? Or could I build a system that would eliminate token leakage that would make this thing more efficient and what the actual impact would be? And so I think your shit's foundational, man. Mm-hmm. I think it's like the first step that we can build on and start understanding our impact. And that's like big advance from where we're at now, which is like, I don't know, just type shit in, see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can share something a little bit about this. While I was developing this, I discovered something interesting, is that what you do in a code editor when you ask the chat, I want to do this, you think it's doing one request. No, it's doing a lot more than this. Now I have access to this and I can actually see all the things it does behind. Like the first time you start it, it's actually going to make another request to give a title to the thread that you started. You didn't want a title, but here you are. Or simply detecting intent. On your first question, it does an intent detection, so it knows which tool it needs to route to it, so it to be more efficient. So there is some hope there around like building tools that are more efficient, especially with smart routing. Does the smart routing needs to use AI in the first place? That's the big question. And right now I see that we actually still use AI to do it. So Not sure if
Who else has got questions? Kush. You want you to use your 2 minutes now, or you want to use your 2 minutes at the end?
I just have some thoughts. Hey, Lionel. Awesome that you built a tool and you open sourced it, and it's in VS Code, so very immediately usable. I want to sort of challenge one thing, which is I find that some of the things that you mentioned, of course, is like if we take the theory that the world is on a pathway to shit if we don't change and so on. There's things to care about, of course, in general. But when it comes to AI usage, I find like the scarcity mindset is not gonna get us anywhere. Like I think if I'm building a software like an IDE, I want to be the last person to say, oh, don't make the extra 7 requests to guess what I'm about to think. No, I want that. I am building that. I always want that. But I think the scarcity mindset and the idea of energy usage has to be kind of perhaps investigated a little bit deeper and realize just don't use APIs. Maybe use local inference. Maybe realize, as you said, that a smaller model, a 30 billion Qwen 3 with 3 active billion parameters is just enough compared to O3 or Anthropic's, $200 per month API. And once you realize that, then you realize the API consumption is like 50 times more or 100 times more on the cloud somewhere in a data center. And they're also charging money for it. And they're also going to turn the tap off when they feel like it. So a mental reevaluation needs to happen about what AI is in general, and not about maybe we should make that query or not, but rather that maybe we shouldn't make that query of these rent seekers, but rather of our own machines that we already purchased and we have, or just use tinier models because we now understand what the thing is. So I think that has to be a part of a discussion as opposed to just saying use less. I don't think people are attracted to that message. I've seen that message over the last 20 years in various different spaces. No one wants to reduce their quality of life. They always want more. But if you make a case that scarcity is actually fake, if it's made up by the providers who, like the side point, like there's even Government of Canada is giving incentives to cloud providers of spinning up new data centers, but there are no incentives for individuals who buy their own one computer that they will use all the time. So it's misaligned incentives. That's how we get here, right? So this conversation around power and energy use has to be completely different than just use less,
Thanks, Kush.
I hear you out. Maybe it's about using less. I guess that's not the message I was trying to convey. It's more about being mindful about efficiency. And one thing I noticed is first of all, the time I spent working with AI to actually build that tool, because I used AI to use that tool. I spent yesterday probably 6 hours cleaning the slop that AI generated. It worked, but there was a lot of slop and so in terms of efficiency and producing good code, I think that we are still ways out, even with the biggest model that out there. And I agree with you that maybe for a lot of things, we don't need to resort directly to the big model, the big providers of AI. I completely agree with you. Now, when people install Cursor or Visual Studio Code, that's not the default option. Default option is to go in the cloud. It doesn't offer you and tell you, hey, you have a MacBook with a HEM processor. This is really good, actually, to generate a response. So you don't need to go in the cloud. They're not telling you this. They want you to use their services. So at the moment, there's a little bit of the knowledge that you have is deep enough that people can understand this, but for the most people, it's not there yet at the moment. So yes, I agree. We need tools that actually offer people more options. And right now, it's very limited towards the provider that want your money.
We're throwing back there right in the middle of the blues.
Hey, Lionel. My name's Rahul. Great chat. Brilliant work. Massive shout out. I'm right here. Just want to add more color to the conversation because we were talking about impact. So 2 days ago, I saw this post that Eric Schmidt, the ex-Google CEO, put on his LinkedIn. And he said that for US alone to support their AI revolution, they're going to need 92 gigawatts of power. For reference, he said 1 nuclear power plant produces 1 gigawatt of power. In the last 30 years, they have built 2. They built 2. I think this work is really important that you're doing. Don't stop, keep going. But just want to see what your thoughts are on that, if you're tracking that for Canada or in general, just the globe. because I think there's overlap between what you're doing and where we're going with. What Eric was alluding to was AI's limit is not going to be chips. It's going to be electricity. And I think we need to be mindful of that consumption. But I kind of, if that's Utsav or what, yeah, I think I partially agree with him that it's not very alluring to tell people, hey, just limit your usage. Overconsumption is a huge problem. When we talk about sustainability, climate action, it's just the biggest one. But I think it's so nuanced, it's so multifaceted. But I think we need to come at it from different angles. The work that you're doing, we definitely need it. We absolutely need it. But thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with you that it's very nuanced and there's like so many colors and shade. When we estimate this, is like actually figuring out how many output tokens and which model was it, but also where was it running, because the energy mix plays a role. Like, what is the energy mix of that data center? Is it using coal? Is it using nuclear? And I heard, it's not Eric Schmidt said that, but I also heard Sal Matman saying that, well, the limit of AI power will be how much energy we have available. And if you don't know, Sal Matman also invests in like SMRs, like small reactors, like nuclear reactors, so that companies can have their own power plant to run the data center itself. That's going to that level now. And actually, so the US was not really into nuclear for a long time, and it's changing drastically now. Like, they are going full ham on building nuclear reactors across the country, as if they were prepared for this happening already. And now, like, Donald Trump removing all the red tape to make it happen as fast as possible and as efficiently as possible. So something tells me that they won't be missing the energy, but we can always build more nuclear plants. But why? Why is the question? Do we actually really need all this? Is this going to save us all? Do we need to actually build an infinite number of nuclear reactors so that we have infinite energy and give it to infinite AI? I don't know. We should. I think personally we should learn to harness what we have now to the best possible, instead of thinking we need more to throw more coal in the machine to get more out of it. I think the systems that we have already are pretty intelligent in many ways, but it's just that they are not as easy to use as they look like. They're not as easy as talking to a chat as a user human. Even though the interface looks like a chatbot, it's not that simple. We have to a little bit understand how they work to be able to communicate and get the best out of it. So it's really about the user experience needs to be improved, and that's how we can make more with less, I think, now.
In support of your talk, I turned off the air conditioning. Are you guys happy about that or what? Thank you for having hard questions, for going out and not being satisfied with the answers, for figuring it out, for going to Montreal and being in this lab, bringing it back to us, man. Fuck yeah, Lionel. Thank you, brother. He's Ucodia online. He's up to all sorts of interesting shit. Please connect with him.